Welcome to Learn the Sword. There are a couple of questions a student had about how to draw and sheathe the real sword. There are tons of ways to draw the sword. There are hundreds of ways to set up the draw. There are hundreds of ways to put the sword away. So just to let you know right off the top, you're never right, you're never wrong. Just don't cut those fingers trying to prove yourself. Yes. So what I'd like to talk about is how can we effectively draw the sword? So let's go over this just a little bit. As a general rule, this is a real sharp object and everybody must pay attention to it. Treat it with respect. Most people who treat the blade with respect have to hold it really hard because they don't want to drop it and lose it, which is probably the biggest factors that keeps them from becoming good swordsmen is they handle it too hard. They manhandle stuff. And you know, stuff that gets manhandled isn't too happy. What I'd like you to see is if you come in this way and I grab the sword as a general rule, depending if the blade is turned this way or this way, lots and lots of people come in at a 90-degree angle and they hold it like this, which feels good and it feels secure. If I come over here to this angle, see where the angles are, everything's square, it feels good, it feels secure. If I lift it up here, you can see the angles, it feels good, and again, it feels secure. The problem arises is when you're here is fine, but when you pull the blade out this far, look at the angle, look at how it's starting to work with my hand a little bit. That's the main problem. And to accommodate this, I have to now readjust my hand a few times to get the sword out. And that is why it's so difficult for some people to take the sword and pull it straight out like this. So, for some of you who go, I can't do this, it never comes out, pull the sword back, bring it up to about a 45-degree angle, and it comes out perfectly. So if you want to pull out the sword perfectly at the very beginning, pull it up to an angle. If you want to pull the sword out where it's horizontally, you have to adjust the sheath and the sword together when you pull the sword out around your hips, which is difficult to do for many, many beginners. What I'd like you to see then is, if we're coming in this way and we're putting the grip at about 90% and it isn't working, what do we need to do? Easy, 45%. See that? You got a 45-degree angle right here. So now when I pull the sword out, for example, my hand is all lined up correctly. If you can see that. That way 45 compared to 90 degrees here. 90, 45. So there's a big difference there. And that transition at a 45-degree angle will help you draw the sword without telegraphing your thoughts and intentions. Now, let's take this on to the next phase. Drawing the sword is a lot easier than you think. Most people think, again, even though it's at a 45-degree angle, they're going to rip that thing out and they got to pull and cut. Not really. Remember, it's a big razor-sharp 30-inch piece of steel inside the sheath. So instead of taking and trying to pull it out and cutting the blade inside the sheath, which makes lots of noise, and over time your sheath will be all scored out and the blade will probably start coming through the top of the saya, and that way you might cut your finger down the road. What I want you to look at now is if I take my hands and I put them towards the back, down the side, and I bend at the elbows, I bring it from underneath the sword. So you can see that I'm grabbing the sword from underneath. What this does is, this keeps my telegraphing down. Most people are going to go like this. They do. They bring up their shoulders and everything. But if you just go whoop and bring up in front of you, you're going to alleviate all that telegraphing. Another thing you want to look at, when you bring your arms up, see where they are? If this is a ridge or a blade, these should be blades too because it all matches. So I'm going to bring these up here like this. Now, here's the secret. Instead of grabbing onto the handle, I want to push this handle out and cradle it here. See, I'm cradling it with my hand. See over here on this side, I'm coming underneath, I'm cradling it. And I'm just pulling it out. Remember, I don't really need a lot to pull the sword in and out. Matter of fact, I can go like this. So a lot of power isn't required. So I'm underneath here, I sort of press with my thumb and my forefinger, I push the sword out accordingly. Now this feels weak, but the cool thing about it is it sets up for the cut. So now if I use both hands, I'm going to bring from underneath, I'm lifting up my hands like this, I push forward, I start drawing this sword, cradling it, it gets to the end here like this, and it flips over in front like that. See where my hand position is? See the angles? Now, let me take it and put the sword away, and let me push it back out. So here it is, hands up, cradle, push forward, let it slide on out, and bring the sword back around this way. Now, trying to put the sword away with a finger that's still beat up, the little injuries are going to kill you. So let it go like that. So when you get like a broken knuckle or a dislocated hand or a finger, just work around it. So when I put away the sword, normally this little finger has to grab down here near the sageo. But it doesn't work because it doesn't bend today. So watch me put away this sword with a beat up finger. Over a little time, it works pretty good too. So take that into consideration when you're drawing and sheathing the sword.